Okay. So it is 6:31 and we're going to get started. As people join us, then they will just come in, and if they miss it, they'll watch the recording. I'm just going to look at who's here so I can do the raffle later with Eden. All right. And I'll take a look again later at the end and we'll announce the winner. There are gift cards this time again. There's 2 gift cards to Starbucks. So that's exciting. All right. Okay, so happy October, everybody. This is our October staff meeting for our Sneads Ferry quality teachers and our Holly Ridge quality teachers. While you were waiting, if you chose to in the chat box, what are you going to be for Halloween? What are you going to be for Halloween? And Emily's going to be a bride. Emily, bridesmaid, Emma Grace. Oh yeah, Emily's wedding is, yes, that's right. Very
it's way
exciting.
too soon.
A tired mama, says Heather, and Cassie has no clue. I don't know either. So it's whatever Eden dictates the family will be. All right. Someone from Encanto, says Laura. Storm Chaser, Toddler Chaser from Rachel. Good one. Don't forget, we have our parade on the 31st. It'll be at 10 a.m. And I'll have lots of reminders for you, but we'll show you how we do the parade. It's very easy, and the parents love to watch from outside the fence. Okay, so as you want to show us and tell us more about what you're going to be for Halloween, I'll keep the chat minimized, but I will go back to it. Can you give me a thumbs up if you see the PowerPoint presentation? Give me a thumbs up that you see it. Okay. Anyone not see it? All right. So here we go. So our super staff member of the month of September. Remember, we're always a month from what just happened. So September happened, and we want to highlight somebody who stood out significantly in the month of September. And that person, well, I didn't even let them all come out at once. Okay. Punctual and rarely calls out of work, jumps in to make things to support other teachers, volunteers to help around the school and when times are tough, ensures her students are well cared for, builds strong relationships with families and parents, supportive of her new co-teacher with thoughtful communication and consideration for their wants and needs to succeed, and has grown as an early childhood educator and continues to seek out new learning and professional development opportunities. And that is Miss Rachel. Yay! She's made some wonderful strides, and she has embraced Miss Nicole in her classroom, and they seem to be thriving. And we hear great things about how she was a great leader to Miss Nicole and guide, and really showed her how to run a wonderful toddler classroom. We have 2 fantastic toddler classrooms. I'm happy that my son gets to experience them both. So way to go, Miss Rachel. Thank you very much for being you. All right. Forgive me if I missed somebody. So from the time we had our last meeting until now, I hope I didn't forget anybody, but we want to welcome Miss Cheyenne. She's a flex teacher and working for school age after school. Miss Becca, she is a flex teacher. Miss Emily H also, because we have an Emily H already. This is a new Emily. She just started today, and she's a flex teacher. We have Emma Grace, she's a flex teacher, and Miss Nicole Flanders, she's at Holly Ridge Quality, and she is a flex teacher as well. So lots of flex teachers, and we like to start people out that way if they don't have the credentials or that experience that we look for, because then you learn by doing, you're immersed in the classrooms, and you really pick up on how some classrooms run way, and you're like, oh, I love that way. Or some classrooms run and go, oh, I would do it slightly differently. And that's how you develop your early childhood education and strategies and skills in real time. You know, I went to college and I didn't learn jack squat about being a teacher. I can tell you everything, all those laws, but they didn't help me when I walked into my classroom. It was by doing. So that's why we love to embrace the hands-on training. So welcome. Okay. We got more chat. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Teach scholarship. I say this every meeting, so I'm really going to run down it quickly. This is saved. You get this PowerPoint, so if you miss something, please go back and look at it. It is all there. But the Teach Scholarship is a free ride to go to college. You could get your associate, you could just get your credentials, right? You can just get credentials, then your associate's, your bachelor's, your master's degree. If you feel like going for a doctorate, I haven't tried that one yet, but you may go for it. And you can embrace the free tuition and free books. Let's see, if you want to take study time, make sure that you fill out that study time form and we will submit it, and you get $10 an hour for 3 hours a week to just spend studying. So you clock out, you go to the teacher's lounge, you study, and you get paid to study, but it's $10 an hour. So some people choose not to use that. And then they have that advantage up to 3 hours a week. Okay. We said this last time, but I want to make sure that we reiterate it because we've been seeing and having to speak with some staff members about engagement and supervision. Children should be engaged because if they're bored, they're going to find trouble, they're going to find nonsense. And I mean, you could just put money on it. And I walked into a room today and the teachers were getting ready for something to happen next, but they weren't engaging the kids. So the kids were sitting down at the tables. They were being very good, but they would only last that way for so long. So we start singing, we start reading, we ask them questions, we tell them about what we're going to have next in the next activity, something where you are engaging them. Assign somebody that role. When you have your teacher A, teacher B, teacher C, if you're fortunate enough, chart. If somebody's putting out cots, what's somebody else doing at that time? If somebody else is making sure that the diapers are being checked and changed, what's the other teacher in the room doing? You have to make sure people are held accountable. And if you have that chart up on your wall somewhere, if you have a new flex teacher, you just say, we're doing this right now, you're teacher B, and they go straight to that chart. And you don't even have to say another word. We're at the chart. Ms. Shannon, Ms. Ruby told you about the chart. That's your job right now. And hopefully that works. If you find that they don't fly and they're not really being productive helping teachers, then we might have to have a conversation with them. And if the conversation doesn't go well and they don't learn, then they may not be a good fit for us. And we invest a lot in our teachers. So we want to make sure that people who work for us are people who are dedicated, who are supportive of their fellow coworker, and who are committed to this job because, man, you're not getting paid $18 an hour as a lead teacher because, you know, you could be going doing something else. You could be an entrepreneur. You could be creating and exploring the world, whatever. But this is your passion. This is supposed to be your passion. Okay. Just wanted to say that. Get on their level. Make sure you're on everyone's level when you speak with them. Yelling at a kid across the room is a no-go. You will not make an impact that way. You go up to them, you get down on their level, and you address them. Show them what's expected. If you're saying a kid should share and they don't know what sharing is, they're going to try their best, but it's not going to be what you expect sharing to look like. So modeling, getting that other partner in there with them, even if they're itty bitties. If you have toddlers and 2-year-olds, you can show them very simply that if somebody wants a toy, instead of screaming and grabbing and hitting or biting your friend, we use gentle hands. We have to wait. You can do this instead. I mean, you have a whole bunch of options. So you're just showing them. And then over time, you're building little good citizens. Okay. Another big thing, which I'll mention later, is making sure during outside play, you are stationed. We are outside again. It is not stifling in the afternoon. So you're outside, you must station yourselves and make sure you're supervising your kids. If you want to go play, that's the best case scenario, but I understand if you've had a long day and you can't really get out there and run with the kids, station yourself and supervise them. That way you are watching everything And then your other partners, they're watching everything else. If you want to teach them games, that's the perfect time to teach them sharing, like we were just talking about, taking turns, learning a new organized sport. I mean, you think about it, and if you need that supply, like you don't have a soccer ball, but they're doing soccer, I will happily get a soccer ball so that you can use it in the preschool classrooms. You just need to make sure I know and I can do it for you. If you feel like you need to sit, maybe you've had a rough night and you come in and you need to sit with children. And we're going to go over this later, but I better not see anybody sitting away from kids. If you have more teachers in your room, which right now we're overstaffed, that's fantastic. So on a really bad day where 8 people call out, you won't feel it as much, but everybody has to do a job. Everyone has to be productive. Otherwise, we don't need you. And you can, go home. All right. Don't wander the halls either. Just because you have 3 people in your classroom doesn't mean we're going to go walk around, chit chat with this teacher, go make 30 copies and something else, go to our car. This is your chance to really get what you wanted to get done with your kids. All right. Oh yeah, I forgot that one. Guiding children to avoid injury. When Kim Sherry was visiting, that she came to go over our assessment results, she was on the playground and she saw something that could possibly have been a potential hazard to a child. A teacher went to go grab the child's hand to lift them up, but at that moment, Kim knew to stop them and worked with them, which is very helpful, but she's not always that helpful. And we're not always that fortunate to have somebody intervene before something could happen to a child's shoulders. And I say this a lot. My husband, Dan, has dislocated both shoulders several times, and he can tell you how excruciating that is. And once it dislocates once, it's bound to happen again. You move that bad boy a weird way, and then it's out. So please make sure when you are going to lift children, you are under their armpits and lifting up. If they are too big for you, you don't lift the kid. You don't lift them. It's in our behavior management plan. If they are resistant and they don't want to hold your hand, you just let them be. If they're going to drop, you make sure that they safely drop to the ground. You don't let them slam the brains on the ground, but let them go to the ground and then let them be. Let them know you're there, that you're going to be back, and that you can also clear the other students away if that child is kicking their legs, swinging their arms, throwing things, which we know can possibly happen if they're having a tantrum. And then we can come back and address it with all of those skills and strategies we've worked with. But please do not pick a child up who's like this, because as soon as it goes too far back, it's out. And it's not the way we lift children. If you lift a child and they are flailing and resisting and they're older than 2, you shouldn't be lifting them. Put them down safely and then go about it with them near you on their level. You may need to move the other kids out of the way. You may need to radio for admin, but safety is number 1. I don't want you getting punched in the face, and I don't want them getting hurt because you're trying to soothe them, but in actuality, they're flailing and they whack their brains on the wall or something. So just making sure that you are cautious and you follow that behavior management plan. If you signed it without reading it, perhaps you would like another copy, and then you can read it through, because it tells you exactly what's expected for ages 0 to 2 and then 2 and up. So you can approach the child who's in distress appropriately. Okay. Tones. Lately, we've been a lot better with our tones. I've heard everyone using their assertive voice, and they're just saying what they mean and they mean what they say without raising their voice. And that's wonderful. When you are talking to a child and you say, no, ma'am, no, sir, or you're not really giving them any guidance. So make sure that with the addressing the child, we're also going to share with what we expect to see, even the itty bittiest. So we use marching feet. We don't run in the classroom. We use marching feet. Whatever you want to say, make a game out of it, because you're redirecting the little ones instead of kind of teaching problem solving to the older ones. There's a difference there. But making sure that you're addressing these children with your tones are going to be even. So you can be stern, but we don't have to yell. And if you need an emotional break, radio for admin to room blank. We'll go, we're coming running. And then we're gonna come help you go take your break because you need 5 minutes. If you're at that state, then you're not gonna think rationally. So you need to go walk away. Walk away, take a moment, and then come back when you're ready. And there's no shame in that because everyone knows where they have that limit. You may have little Johnny pushing your buttons all day long. And then you just reach that moment where you're like, admin, Shannon, someone come save me, room blank. And then we come help you. But many of you are very good about it. You ask us to come and kind of observe the child, intervene, or you want to intervene, but we have to come observe the other kids, making sure that they're okay by supervising them. Whatever you want to do, you're the teacher. So if you'd rather work with this child, which I prefer because then you build that relationship, that's great. But if you'd rather an admin come step in, then we can do that too. Okay. So I showed this last time. I'm not going to show it again, but it is here. These are the assertive voices I was just talking about. That's why I kept it in here from last time. So if you didn't watch this video with us, I suggest you watch it. It's about the big voice, and it's something that you can teach your students to use too. If someone's coming to grab this other kid's toy, you can tell that child, you know, use your big voice and tell them, please don't take my toy. No, please don't take my toy. You have to wait. And then they're using their big voice, and the other child has to acknowledge that big voice, and then we can work on a solution together. It's going to take time for them to learn this stuff, but if you know how to do it, then you can teach them how to do it. All right. And then this goes more into the assertive voice. This is from Conscious Discipline, and always giving those 2 positive choices, even for the itty bitties. You can have this toy or this toy, but little Billy's playing with that toy. So you have to wait for that toy, but you can choose one of these 2 or redirect them over to library. And do you want to read this book or this book? I mean, the power of choice is something that kids are always looking for. So if you're always going to say yes to those 2 things, they feel great about having that power, and you feel great that they're things you would say yes to. Okay. So since we did conscious discipline last time, we're going to work on some flip it this time. This is a training, and we have it from Martin Pitt. Martin Pitt has done it with us 2 times, but I understand we have so many new staff members and teachers where it's good to have a review, and it'll be here for you to look at after the meeting if you so choose. There are tons of videos on YouTube for Flip It. I did choose one, and it'll be later on after we go over these components. Let me just make sure no one has questions. Okay. So Flip It. There are 4 steps, and they help guide children kind of with social emotional skills and strategies, gaining that self-control and regulation, and then we reduce those challenging behaviors. And I know everyone in this meeting and beyond can think of at least one friend who has those challenging behaviors no matter what age, and to regulate them is very difficult if they don't have those skills. Okay, so feelings. We gently talk with the child about his feelings, tell him what you see and hear as a result of his emotions, help him to identify the root feelings and cause of the behavior. So what made all that happen? What's the antecedent? You guys fill out ABC charts all day long. What's the antecedent for them? What are they saying is that start of the emotion? Limits. Remind the child of the positive limits and expectations you have for their behavior. Love and simple limits help surround children with a sense of consistency, safety, and trust. So you give them that boundary. We can't kick this. We can kick a ball. That's your limit, right? Or instead of kicking this, you can squeeze these stress balls. So those are the limits in the classroom, giving them what they can do, what's a positive limit to their actions. Inquiries. Encourage the child to think about solution to his challenges, ask questions that promote problem solving and healthy coping skills. Inquiries invite children to think, learn, and gain self-control. So you're kind of that little conscience on the side of their shoulder saying, okay, so how can we fix this problem? Maybe you could. What could you do to help this friend? Or how could we do this a different way? And we'll go into that. Prompts provide creative cues, clues, and suggestions for the child who's having difficulty. So if they didn't get inquiries on their own, which a lot of our kids, they're not old enough to do that, you're going to prompt them. You're going to give them a little bit, right, so that they can do it and be successful. Enthusiastic, bright ideas can lead the way to better problem-solving skills. Okay. So this is another tool for your tool belt. And I say that a lot because if you don't have the resources in here, you're not going to be able to help those kids who come to you who have these struggles. And we're getting a lot more of these types of children. And it could be COVID, if we want to blame COVID, they were cooped up for 2 years, or it could be something underlying that's happening. But when we have children now, and there are many of them enrolled with us who have this problem with self-regulation, they don't know how to help themselves and they flip out, and we have to learn a way to flip it so that they are able to regulate and we can support them, and then they become good little humans and citizens and not like mass murderers and serial killers. So we want to make sure that we give them these skills so that they are productive citizens later on in life, because they carry these with them to elementary school. You know, they bring it with them to kindergarten. Okay. So obviously this is not one strategy for everybody. It is just a strategy to use. Like I said, it's a tool for your tool belt. So in your brains, even if you work for babies and you work with toddlers and you work with twos, think about a child in your mind who really, they just push your buttons. Like every day there's a couple buttons pushed and you have to take those deep breaths. If you're fortunate enough to not have any of those children this time around, maybe in the past you've had a child who fits that description. And you want to think about, before you go any further in this, their strengths, what they were interested in or are interested in, and then what are their challenges? Did they have a hard time with impulsivity control? Did they just not, were they not able to control their bodily functions and they just whack people and grab things and scream and throw fits? Impulsivity. But what got them going? What were their interests? Did they love cars? Did they love sports, or did they love to build with Legos? And then you know those things about this child, it'll help you address it when you're going into the flip it strategy. So you have to understand ICK. I would have chosen a different acronym, but I understand. So within yourself is ICK, within the family, there's ICK, and then your environment or your school, there's ICK. And so ICK stands for a challenge that weighs this child down. As adults, we have loads of ICK, right? So you got all this stress, all this piled on top of you, and then you have to go do your job with a smile on your face every day. So it takes your knowledge and understanding of self-regulation to get over those challenges, at least mediate them, and then proceed with what you need to do, because you have that ability as an adult. You've learned those skills. Now it's our job to teach our kids those skills. So you could have factors internally within yourself that you're struggling with. You could have things within your family or your home environment that stressing you out, and then things at work, things in your external environments that could be stressing you out. Hopefully work not that much, but you know, it's work. When children react to ick in their lives, they flip in or they flip out. That's typical. So they're either going to become very introverted or they're going to show you how frustrated they are. And when some of them show us, they become harmful to others or dangerous to others. But when the feelings are inside and not expressed, that's also something to be concerned about, because those children don't know how to healthfully express themselves, but the flipped outs are in the same boat. They don't know how to do it in a healthy way. So they're very destructive. So going into our beginning of attachment relationships, the initiative to go through with this, and self-regulation, these are all things and skills that people learn over time. We used to learn them from mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, and our teachers were not so much in the loop of teaching us how to self-regulate our emotions. Teachers taught us our ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, for the most part. And then you always had that one special teacher, two special teachers who really worked on empathy and supporting children in the classroom. And that was great, but it wasn't as much as it is now. And as our 0 through 5 teachers, you are adding another job to your list. You are going to be social emotional teachers, helping them regulate. So as an adult, you have these components. Just think for a second about what's in your life that may be causing ick. Don't get depressed, but just like think about the things that might be weighing you down. And do you flip in or do you flip out? So are you a person who keeps it all inside, or are you a person who lets it all out? Or maybe you're a mixture of the two. In certain environments, you let it all out and you take it out on the people that you love, or you keep it inside in those external, like the work environment, but then you get home and you just let loose. You let loose on whoever's in your way. And think about how that ick now for a child, though they don't have all your life stresses, but they don't understand how to regulate any of those stresses that they're going through. So this is where it comes in to flip, okay? The feelings, begin the flip it process with step 1, which is feelings. Gently talk with the children about their feelings and what they're seeing and hearing as a result of the emotion. So you're going to acknowledge and give them the word for their emotion. So if some kid is surely angry, you're going to tell them, you look angry. You look like you're angry. Your hands are clenched. Your face is all squished. You took your toy and it seems like you are angry. There's some prompts here. So I see you are doing blank. Wonder if you are feeling blank. So you're just filling in with their verbs and their adjectives of how they're feeling. Your body's getting antsy. Are you feeling nervous? Maybe someone's feeling nervous. It's their day for show and share, and they are exhibiting that. That's a way that you can engage with flip. You can show them how to self-regulate and calm their body. And point to a face of how you're feeling. So a lot of classrooms have those facial charts. They can point to how they're feeling based on what the faces show. Big emotions for little people lead to big actions to express them. You see those big actions when they throw their bodies on the floor, they yell, they scream, they kick, they throw things. Those are those big emotions. They just don't know how to show otherwise. Children feel supported and heard when you spend that time to acknowledge how they're feeling. Sometimes I see the strategy done where the teacher tells them, you're okay, get up, you're okay. We're not acknowledging that they're angry, they're stressed, they're worried, they're sad, they're scared, whatever the emotion is. And then we can't proceed from there to teach them how to regulate it. We're just telling them they're okay. And in the end, that's not helping them learn how to cope with whatever they're working through, whether we think it's silly or not. They think it's a big deal, and we have to acknowledge that so that we can move forward and we can help them. I suggest for the older kids, even 2.5 and up, work with a small group on those social emotional mini lessons that you acknowledge the feeling. So you can just do a feeling a week when you're feeling angry, and then go into your mini lessons with all your small groups, or you can do it as a whole group lesson. And what they can do to regulate that emotion. What does that emotion look like, feel like, and what do you do when you have those emotions? And just those little lessons, and then you can practice with your friends in the class. But sometimes we flop as adults when we engage with a kid who's feeling this way. When adults try to get to the root of the behavior by asking why do you feel so angry? Why are you so angry? That kid doesn't know why he's angry. He's 2, and he just is so upset that someone took his toy, but he can't put it into words for you. He doesn't know how to do it yet. So we have to really help guide those little ones and make sure we say, you look angry because little Johnny took your toy. And then we go into what we can do next and help them. When we respond to the first thing, we see the child's behaviors instead of the feelings. So if somebody kicked the blocks over because they're mad, pick them up. We don't knock over blocks. I know you're angry, but we don't knock blocks over. And then we go into why they should do something else instead of knock blocks over when they're angry. I know you're angry, but we don't hurt our friends. And so you're acknowledging what's happening, what's the emotion, and you're also telling them it's not cool to hit their friends. But then we have to move into what you expect to see, or asking them if they're old enough, what could you do instead? When you're angry, what can you do? Limits. So once you've talked with the child about what she or he is feeling, proceed with necessary to limits. Remind children of the positive limits and expectations you have for their behavior. You have to build that structure. What is okay and what is not okay in your classroom and in life. Pretty much kicking anyone's blocks over in life is not okay. Loving and simple limits helps surround children with a sense of consistency, safety, and trust. So you building those boundaries, we hear this a lot. When kids get boundaries, they feel so much safer. And you don't really understand that until you're an educator, because you see those boundaries helping children in real life. Where if you're not around it all the time, maybe be like, yeah, boundaries, go eat that candy for breakfast, go do that. That's fine. But the boundaries actually give them that sense of comfort. And it's very helpful for the kids who have a lot of chaos outside of school, and giving them that support in the classroom.
You give me that right now. You can have the drink.
Okay. So I heard you saying unfriendly words. I wonder if you are feeling blank. So they're saying some mean things to their friends. I wonder if you're feeling angry. I wonder if you're feeling hurt, because maybe the other kid hurt their feeling because they said something mean. So acknowledging that what they said, what they might be feeling, but then you go into, we use friendly words here. So you're stating what the expectation is in the classroom. Even if you're mad at your friend, we're still going to use friendly words. You can go take deep breaths. You can go squeeze that toy. You can go blow on that little windmill thing and cozy. You can go cuddle and deal with it that way. And we can come back and talk to your friend about how they hurt your feelings. We're not going to reciprocate with name calling. So we need to repeat the limit several times. Sometimes you have a kid who's resisting to listen and to kind of cooperate in the moment. Now you can come back to them, or you can console them and talk to them if they're willing, and just keep repeating. We don't kick our friends when we're angry. We don't kick our friends when we're angry and then tell them what you expect. And it's going to take a while. We use gentle touches here. Our rule is to sit at circle. So obviously we can't make all the kids sit at circle in whole group time, but you can tell them what the expectation is, that running around the classroom is not the expectation. We sit at circle time. Sometimes we flop when we tell children what they can't do, rather than helping them understand what they can or should do. If you say a lot of no's and can'ts, but then don't give them the what they can do, then they're at a loss. So we don't run in the classroom. We use walking feet. You can march. You can tiptoe. That's 3 choices. Usually we give 2. So there you go, 3 choices. If we do not regularly discuss, review, and remind children of the limits we have set. So we do have to reiterate these. Those first few weeks of school, you're repeating a lot of different expectations, but they're all the same expectations because those kids need to have it repeated. And you're repeating for those itty bitties, those infants, toddlers, and 2s. Every day of your life, you are saying the same thing. You sound like a broken record, but that's what they need. That they need that repetition. And if you say, we use walking feet, we use walking feet in the classroom, and then you show them what walking feet looks like, or we march. You want to make it fun. We're doing the ants go marching. As long as you are consistent, that's what's important. Step 3, inquiries. Once you have talked with the child about feelings and limits, move on to inquiries. Encourage the children to think about solutions to their challenges. So maybe they can join in and help you find the answer to their problems. If they're old enough, they can dive in and give you solutions. Ask questions that promote problem solving and healthy coping skills. Inquiries invite children to think, learn, and gain self-control. This is going to give them that confidence boost that they solved their own problem. Now, it may not happen when they're 2 or 3. It might be more for our older preschoolers. And that's why this is the next step. A lot of it's going to be very guided. You're going to do a lot of modeling and showing them. How do you think we could fix this? That's very open-ended, but for an older child in 4s or 5s, they could probably help you out in answering that once you've worked with them a couple times. How can we make this easier for you? What are we going to do to make this work? Or what's a friendly way you could ask him to share with you instead of saying mine and taking it? What's a way we could ask in a friendly way? Solutions and examples come next. Best to make a small group or whole group lesson if it's widely observed. If this is a weakness among your students, you don't have to spend time with each individual child at the first time. Pull them all in for whole group, make it your lesson the next day, and do it together. Teach it together and then practice it in small groups or independently. That's when you would break it up and have them do it more independently in practice after they learn it with you. It takes persistence, and they go hand in hand with the prompts. So inquiries and prompts go together. Sometimes we flop. Sometimes when we are too quick to solve their problems for them, and I see that a lot too, where you just tell them, this is how we solve. Give them this toy, and you move away. Give them back the toy, walk away. That's not teaching them. That's not teaching them. Oh, that was her toy, give it back, and then you go walk away. So we're too quick to solve it for them. They're never going to learn how to solve those problems, interject, and self-regulate. So we got to make sure that we give them that time. When we ask questions, but our tone is intimidating. Sometimes we have that talk down tone, that boss lady tone, and it will intimidate. It won't help. It's not supportive. So we have to make sure that we are using those even tones that I was talking about earlier. You can be stern if it's something that's putting someone in danger or needs to be addressed, but we're here to help them and support them. So what are you going to do next? But you're tapping your toe and you got your hands on your hips and you're pointing at them. What are you going to do next? That's intimidating. That's confrontational. It's not going to help them. It's going to make them cower and say, I don't know. But if you're supportive, you get on their level and you talk with them and you guide them, it's so much better. These are those prompts we were talking about. If a child is having difficulty problem solving, which many of our early childhood students are, you will have talked with them about feelings and limits and have made an inquiry. Move on to step 4, which is prompts. Suggestions for children having difficult problem solving. So if they're having that trouble problem solving, you're going to make those suggestions with cues, clues, and making sure that you kind of guide them in their decision making and how they can create these solutions to the problem. You want to be enthusiastic about it. They can have bright ideas, and it can lead to better problem solving skills in the end because these kids have felt supported and they've been given these opportunities of different prompts. So I can ask an open-ended question. How do you think we can fix this? What could I get from my desk to help me put it back together? So then if they don't have the answer to how to think we can fix this, you're going to kind of guide them to, oh, from your desk, what could you do? Now this is for older kids, but from blocks, what could we use to fix this problem? Or what's a friendly way we could ask each other? Maybe you need a lower voice with your friend, so let's try it. And then you try a lower, even tone voice when asking a friend. So again, with the 2 positive choices, if you want to give them 2 ways to solve the problem, make sure you would say yes to both of those options. You may need to repeat it several times, and you're going to see in the video, she has to repeat it a few times because the kid is not hearing her. So he's in a state where he's not hurting himself or others, but he's still in distress. So she has to repeat it and then be patient with him. Reword the prompts connected with inquiries until they respond. So you can ask it one way and then ask it a different way and just keep going with that. When we give up on finding a solution, that's a total flop. You give up because the kids, I can't. You tell me what you figure out and you walk away because you got frustrated with them. I'm not going to say you're not going to get frustrated, but you have to be able to take that deep breath and work with them. It's gonna be a challenge because those challenging kids are the ones who are going to resist it the most. If you offer prompts, it can be tiring because the solution often involves extra work on our part too. We're going to be there to support them now. Instead of them just give back the toy and then you walk away, now it's let's work to get this toy back and how can we solve it together. And when we do not offer prompts with positivity or enthusiasm, if that negativity, it like rubs off on them and they just pick up on it and it doesn't bode well. So making sure that we are supportive, we have that even tone, but we're also showing them we care. We're there to support them. We're their teachers. We love them no matter what. Okay, so here's the video, and everything that we just talked about with flip, those 4 steps, this is what we're gonna watch now that has to do with flip it. I'm just gonna make sure the volume's up. But I don't want you to be here. If it's not good volume, can give me a thumbs down when I play this, okay? And I will immediately fix it for you. But last time the volume was too low, so I raised it a little bit now. Okay, so it's only a few minutes long. I ask that you watch it, and then we're gonna move on.
Hello, and welcome to a short introduction to Flip It, 4 supportive steps to help young children identify their feelings, learn healthy self-control, and reduce challenging behavior. These steps include exploring feelings with children so we can all better understand what is motivating the challenging behavior or what's underneath it. And then after feelings, setting limits so that children know that even though they are allowed to have these feelings, that we expect them to be safe and kind.
Just gotta repeat it.
I watch. It has been a long time. It doesn't seem like a long time, but we're enjoying it. Like you had your turn, and at our school we have to take turns.
Once children understand their feelings and the limits around them, they need help thinking through a solution. Inquiries are open-ended questions to help a child begin to problem solve. If a child is struggling coming up with a solution, we can offer prompts. These are supportive hints, cues, and suggestions.
Can you put your name on the list, please?
She tries again.
So it should be. I know, but you yesterday. You want to go draw our airplane and we can turn it out and glue it and make it fly. Would you like to do that? Look up here. Let's see deep breath.
For more information, check out.
Okay, so she was very persistent, and so was he. He said no to about 4 of the things that she offered him, but they were all things she was going to say yes to. So obviously he couldn't get what he wanted, which was more computer time. So she had to redirect him, acknowledge that he was mad and angry or frustrated, and then move on to the next part of it, which was offering him those options on how to solve his problem. Now he's younger, right? He's probably 3. So learning for himself how to prompt himself for the choices and problem solving is going to be difficult. So we guide them. And you could do a little less direct choice giving. You could kind of have them develop their own, well, what could we do today? And then we have these options. What could you do with the blocks? So if you wanted to do that, that's fine too. But it definitely takes time and patience. So now that we are well staffed, this could be something that you implement and work with your children, especially those who need a new tool from your toolbox. Okay. So, we don't have to do this one. But one of the prompts that I gave to you, if you want to think about it, is a child is breaking crayons into pieces. So how would you address what feelings they might be feeling, the limits that you're going to give to them in the classroom? We don't do this, but inquiries and prompts. So if they're capable on their own, what could you do instead? And then the prompt, if they can't think of what they can do instead by themselves, then you're going to prompt them to choices. Well, instead of breaking crayons, you can go outside and break sticks. Instead of breaking crayons, you can draw me a picture of how you're feeling, or you can go squish the squishy balls. And so those are 3 different things that we prompted them with. So we acknowledge that their face looks mad. We say, you are allowed to break old crayons when you're feeling mad. So in this situation, this classroom, they're allowed to break old crayons. I don't let anybody break crayons, but in this one, we can just say, we don't break crayons in the classroom. What would you like to do to get your mad out instead? They can't think of it on their own. Then we can give them a prompt. This person allows them to break crayons. So they say, we could get the old crayons, or we could try breaking sticks outside. So I would do the stick thing. You could tear up leaves outside. You can squish the frustration balls in the cozy center, whatever that child seems to have interest in. So the flip it strategy, these are the overviews, very short little blurbs to help you remember. And if you have questions about Flip It, you can ask myself or Ruby. We've done this training several times and been in the training where Chantel did it. So if you have questions, feel free to ask us. If you want to message me after this because it's fresh in your brain, you are more than welcome to. If you want to see how you can bring it into your classroom, or you have a specific child who you think Flip It will work for, and you just need some help on how to implement it, that's what we're here for. So just let us know. Okay, so let's move on to some more meeting stuff. Playground, station yourselves outside. Like we said, no clustering. Please don't stand right near each other and have a chit chat session, because that's not supervision. That's not it. Engage and interact with students. If you play with them, there will be a lot less incident reports. There will be a lot less ice needed on the playground, because you're playing something that is organized and well supervised, because you're playing with them. Where if they are welcome to play on their own, but you can expect that there's going to be a lot more chaos on the playground, because every man for himself on the playground. Where you could structure a game, you could play hide and seek, you could play duck, duck, goose, something along those lines. It's a structured game and you're teaching skills along the line. And now that we're in jacket season, please make sure those jackets are labeled. If the parents would rather label them, then make sure that they come in labeled. You can also have the parents keep a jacket in the cubby so that you don't have to keep asking for jackets. The jacket stays at school and we make sure that it is always put back where it should go. Now, when the child is leaving for the day, that's where those times got tricky last fall and winter, because people who are running the floor don't know if that child's supposed to have their jacket stay there or go with them. But now all the parents are welcome into the building, so we shouldn't run into that problem. They will know that's their school jacket. It stays in the cubby. So they're going to take off the jacket and put it in the cubby. Or it's a jacket that goes back and forth. They put it on or they take it with them and it comes back the next day. In your classroom, I saw some of this because some people don't know that it's a violation. Your jackets can't touch. So clothing from other children, cot sheets, anything that's fabric, if it hasn't just been washed, it cannot touch another child's fabric item. So you can stuff them in cubbies, and then nothing touches that item in the cubby. If you choose to use hooks, then I have bags you can put them in. You can space your hooks out where each jacket has its own space so they don't touch each other. If you need suggestions, I'd be happy to help. Every classroom has some kind of different solution to it. So just feel free to ask. And if you need something to solve your problem, you just let us know and we'll get it for you. Because the jackets can't touch and their nap items can't touch, only if they've just been washed. And that's why you have get the clean laundry basket, because they're all clean, they can all touch. But once the kid uses them, that's it. It's all over. Okay, rest time. These are some things that we wanted to remind you about. Some of the rooms have been way too dark. Like, they are so dark. And we actually got in trouble for that last year because one classroom was so dark. The licensor came in and she couldn't see diddly. So you have to make sure that there's a stream of sunlight. So you know the little window on your door for outside? That's like the perfect spot of little bit of light to come in, and then you don't have to worry about anything else. But if you use blackout curtains on everything, we're going to be in trouble. So please make sure that there is some light in the room, not at our center, obviously, because you guys are fantastic, but in another center, not too far away, there was a video with a teacher who was not being too kind to children on their cots. And because there was some natural light in there, they were able to proceed with how they were going to remedy the problem. So they dealt with it because the video caught it. If it's pitch black in the room, you can't see anything. So no one knows what's happening in there. It could be a free-for-all. So please make sure there is some sunlight coming in to your classrooms. Thank you. Some people even turn on that little side light. So it's up to you. If you want to have the bathroom light on and that's enough to illuminate the room, that's fine. That's fine. Just make sure there's enough light. Okay. Smartwatches, they are phones. You can talk on them. You can text on them. You can even go on the internet if you so choose and do very minimal things. Please make sure you do not use your smartwatch or phone unless, big unless. And if we see people taking advantage of this, I'm going to take it back. For ProCare pictures. And some people find it easier to communicate with families during rest, which is fine, using ProCare Connect. But you shouldn't be talking into your Apple Watch when you're supposed to be on the playground with children. Shouldn't be talking into your smartwatch when you're supposed to be reading to children. So please make sure. If it's an emergency, call for coverage. Someone comes in your room, you go text or call. That's how it works. Please, please. You will get in so much trouble if something happens in your care and you're on your smartwatch or your phone and it's not supervising children. If you need to communicate to parents, there are set times you can message them back on ProCare. They will have to wait. You can't just keep messaging throughout the day because you have a job to do. You have to work with their kids. So you're going to message them at rest time. And then if you so choose, right after you are done working and closing your room, you can message them then during closing time. But that, if you're off the clock, you're off the clock, and they should understand that your time was vested with their children. So active rest messages, those are the time you respond to them. You see these people come in and drop their kids off, and then they see you in the afternoon. So if they had something to tell you, they would tell you then, or they'll call the office because it's an emergency if they need it so urgently. So please, I know you're trying to do the right thing and message them back, but in the end, that one message could be the downfall to something, God forbid, happening in the classroom. So just be sure that you are picking the right time and the moments to do that. Now, if you're taking pictures, because you're supervising because you're taking pictures of the kids playing, right? You're seeing it happen. That's fine. But messaging, unless you're amazing at texting and you can look up and watch children and text at the same time, I'm not. And I think I'm a pretty good texter. So please make sure you are selective. Monitor your nappers. Not so much for the older kids. I mean, just make sure that they are not covering their faces. The blankets should not cover their mouth and nose. So just make sure that you're double checking them. Cots must be at least 18 inches apart. When they're 18 inches apart, we also have dividers available. Cot linens cannot touch, just like the jackets. We have cot bags, so please make sure you use them. And please don't put the cots down earlier than lunchtime. Some people prop them up, which is fine, and they get them ready, which is great, but the students need to be able to move freely around the classroom. So if you lay them all down, then it becomes an obstacle course. So you want to make sure that your cots are propped if you so choose. And then when the kid's ready to lay, then you lay their cot down so that we don't have any crazy tripping hazards. It's also for you guys. I mean, imagine maneuvering yourself around a room with cots everywhere. We love your kids. You love your kids. I have had my children at our school, and I made it a point to try my best, only if they called me into the room, to go into that room. And I'm an administrator. Heck, it's my school, right? But I don't go in and visit my child and distract the class. It is not appropriate. I'm on the clock. I have a responsibility. And when I go into a room and it's because they called me for something, Mikey is set off. He's distraught. I don't want to do that to those teachers. Eden, she didn't really care about me that much, so she didn't really do anything, but it distracted the teachers, right? So if you're a parent, we love your children. We know that you want to check on them, but you are first and foremost working, right? You're working. Then you drop your child off. You talk just like every other parent to the teacher. You can message them on ProCare during your breaks, whatever you want to do to get that communication across. And then during pickup, you're able to speak with the teachers again. But please, please don't step into the room and distract your child, cause them to become distraught, because that emotional response causes the teachers to now have to help that child regulate because they just saw mommy or daddy outside the room and they were chit-chatting, and now I thought I was getting picked up, and they're not getting picked up. They have to go back to what they were doing. So if you really need to speak with the teacher, or you have a concern about what I'm saying right now, please come see me, because maybe I'm misunderstanding what's happening, but we got to make sure that there is a boundary. There's a boundary. Okay. And think about if the roles were reversed. What if that teacher's kid was in your room and they kept popping in all day long? Okay. Assessments. I'm going to go over this very quickly because it is important. Every age group needs to assess their students. That doesn't mean you're sitting down with paper, pencil, and testing them. It's different. You are observing them in their skills. Now, Ruby and I have the assessments that you can use the checklist. They're very easy. The ASQ is a checklist. Okay, so you say, oh, yes, they're doing this. Yes, they're doing this. No, they're not quite doing that. Yes, they're doing this. And you do it for every kid in the class from now until we have conferences in November. You have plenty of time to do these. We told you last month, so you would have even more time to do these. But please don't get down to the wire and do all of your children in 2 days, because you're not going to have effective assessments. You're not going to be able to really observe them and do them justice. So 3 pieces of evidence for students who are older and you want to see their progress. So the pieces of evidence, you can take the pictures and put them on ProCare, which is a great tool to have. You put pictures and you tie them to the milestone. And I can show you how to do that. It's very easy. And it prints you a report for the family. So you really just do some clicking on ProCare and they're set. For your infants, toddlers, and twos, you can also go into the milestones component of ProCare, and you can literally say that they are proficient in this, they're developing in this, or they're advanced in this. And then you can write notes, you can take pictures, or you can just click them all up. And they're also paper and pencil ones if you feel more comfortable. So these are all the different things you can have for assessment. Excuse me. We have ASQ, which I think is very well detailed, and it's free and you can do it online or printed. So ask us about that one. The CDC checklist is very short and sweet. It's not my favorite, but it is helpful for families because it tells them what they can do at home. So if you want access to that one, I can print it for your age group. And please don't use your own assessment unless it is approved by Ruby or myself. I know there are cute ones out there, but it may not be addressing everything we want to address. So please make sure if you find one on Teachers Pay Teachers, you come see Ruby or myself and just make sure it's good to go. And you take observational notes, ABC charts, and those ProCare milestones are very helpful. And then preparing for conferences, we can talk about this later on in November before we have the conferences, so I'll save that. And like I said, overstaffed is a great thing until idle staff who are not engaged with students will be addressed by administrators. So if you are just chilling, please expect a conference with Joyce or myself, because we're not going to pay for people to just chill. You have a job to do. And we were just talking about all the jobs you can do. If a second reminder is needed, I'm just going to let Joyce have that one. If you need a second reminder, you can go talk to Joyce, because anyway, we overstaff to ensure our lead and co-teachers have the support they need. That is why we do this. You can work with students with the biggest needs, all those children who you want to regulate their emotions and you don't have the time. We have the staff to give you the time now. You can work with them one-on-one. It's a fantastic thing. Take advantage of it. You can ensure your classroom environment is engaging, it's run efficiently and effectively, and every staff member should be engaged, supervising, and working with children, because that's what we're supposed to do. Okay. CPR is with Ruby on October 20th, 6 to 8. If you need it, she will find you and you will take it with her. It is after work, so bring your own dinner. And the NCR lab results, which is our assessment from Itters and Eckers. Kim Sherry came, like you all know, and I have to write the response by Friday. If your room was assessed, I gave you the assessment indicators, what they wrote, and then paper. You just jot down your answers, responses, your 2 cents to what you want me to say to represent you. If you don't have anything to say about that indicator, just leave it blank. But I wanted you to have the ability to read it, think about it, and say, well, that's not actually true. We were doing this, or they miscounted, or they didn't even see what was happening. Just make sure that you write it down. I'm going to take it from you tomorrow, and then I'm going to type up my many pages to Kim Sherry in response to it. So I just wanted to give you that opportunity to write up what you think. And thank you to everyone for working so hard and being so committed to ensuring your classrooms were ready for the assessments. Building 2, she could come at any time because you're almost at your 6-month mark. So we're all on our toes because we just never know. And we're very proud to call SFQCC our school and have such a fantastic staff, because you guys are amazing and you work so hard every day. So whatever those assessments say, those are just the indicators that got 4 and below. Everything else scored well, so they didn't write anything about it. So just keep that in mind. They only wrote about the things that were 4 points and lower. Okay. Staff surveys close Friday, so please make sure you are doing your staff surveys. And make sure that with comments or questions, you let us know. We have an open door policy. So if you are feeling something, you come tell us and we will help you, and we will make sure that we try our best to solve your problems and help you resolve them. All right. Sorry, we went over a few minutes. If you guys have any questions, you give me a message and I will respond. Have a wonderful evening and see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye, guys.